Good evening. This is Professor Rush back again with OO. This time, our space alien more aggressively attempts to clear up political issues, and I can appreciate his confusion because the concepts like corruption and lying and distorting information vital to one's physical and social well being are quite foreign to him. Also, OO likes to slip in, shall we say, colorful jokes, and I've done my best to prevent this. So here is OO.
John? John? Are you there, John? Oh will be with you in just a few moments, so just hold on. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Are you there, John? Sorry about the delay. Again, we don't have much time.
I'm here, OO. So who was that? She looks kind of familiar. Oh, yes, she's the one where something came up and you abruptly had to take care of something.
Yes, that is my head engineer. We met on a tramp steamer bound for the port of Den, way out in the middle of Butt. Have I ever told you, John, the story about the English baker's daughter? Once upon a time, there was this English baker, a well-known baker, you see, very prosperous. And he had this beautiful daughter who really enjoyed placing pudding in her muffin.
Okay, stop right there, OO. I know where this is going. It's like the traveling salesman in the eye business joke.
Okay, all right, but it is a funny joke. Anyway, John, Mr. Lack of Humor, I apologize for cutting things short last time and even interrupting you at a couple of points, but you were getting pretty long winded and we didn't have much time, John. You were very serious last time and I detected some anger. Hopefully, you haven't lost your sense of humor, for it was the great Nondor who said, "To lose one's sense of humor is to journey on the star of darkness." And there's nothing funny, John, about being stuck at an event horizon. Anyway, you have brought up a subject I'm interested in, and that is social pathology. It would seem that your whole planet is a case study in pathology. All the wars and personal strife. You folks call this history, with your storyline made up of wars marking the different time periods, centering on certain personalities. And you apparently haven't learned anything from your history. You folks keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. That is pathological, John. So let me get specific. You suggested that Obama, and you know, John, from our very first conversation some time back, that my name is really not O, but sounds a lot like Obama. Anyway, you suggested that Obama and his other politicians promote social pathology. Can you clarify this for me? I'm getting the impression that a politician is a dirty, rotten scoundrel. For example, I came across this what you call a joke. How do you know when a politician is lying? Because his mouth is moving. Ha 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 ha. So, I just don't get it. Why do you vote for people like that? Why do you allow people such power? How is it, John, that these people you hire to oversee what was designed as free enterprise and freedom of the individual then ends up being subverted? I love that word, John. Subverted. By these people. Oh, by the way, John, I have learned of our general destination.
So, what is your destination, Oo?
Yes, destination. I will get the exact coordinates to you as soon as these are available. But I will say that what you call Andromeda is close by. We have been able to determine that. But getting back to social pathology, tell me more about that.
Okay, let me give you an example. In any human social system, be this a marriage, workplace, sports team, whatever, when people start lying to one another, it then becomes very difficult to trust not only the information received, but trust the sender. Lying makes it extremely difficult to cooperate with one another. When trust in a system is lost, stress increases, which can then lead to what would be considered aberrant or deviant behavior. Most deviant behavior is a sign of social stress, but the definition of deviant changes over time. For example, certain types of sexual behavior, certain types of mind altering substances used, murder, and so on. Systems can't function on lies and information distortion for very long. Like a virus in a computer, they shut things down. Lies and distortions can have value in terms of survival of the species, but when people lie and distort within a system, marriage, workplace, police, politicians, Supreme Court judges, news media, you end up with a cancer, a social cancer. Anytime a person lies to you, that is like a barrier separating you from the other. The more lies, the more separation, and eventually the relationship is lost. We do not cooperate with one another very well when we don't trust people. The citizens' relationship with our government becomes one that is based on trust. Trust that the politicians, judges will act on behalf of the majority of the citizens. When that trust is lost, cooperation is difficult because false information, and it all comes down to information of some sort, leads to false assumptions, false conclusions, and bad decisions. At this point, I'm faced with a moral dilemma with respect to Obamacare, foisted on the public without public hearing. There were lies and distortions about its content. Votes for the document were obtained through bribery and extortion. And the Obamacare subverts the Constitution of the United States, regardless of the opinion of one of Obama's dirty dozen, Judge Kagan, who should have excused herself from this case. So here's my dilemma. I know that a bank is being robbed. I'm not in on the planning, but I know it's happening. In fact, I'm standing outside the bank. Now, when the robbers exit the bank, do I hold the door open and buy into the robbery and become an accessory to the grand theft, the subversion of the Constitution of the United States, and thus turning myself from a citizen to a subject of the state? Or do I choose not to cooperate in this robbery, this grand theft?
Hmm. beginning to see the picture here, John. But you must understand that we don't have politicians. We have gone way past that. I still don't understand why you elect greedy, lying, and sexually indiscreet people as your leaders. Perhaps you can see why I'm having a problem with this. It doesn't make much sense. It is irrational. And you people want to get into spaceships and venture to the stars and interact with other civilizations? Well, at least you aren't the worst. Now, the Nusians, who are a good example of what happens when technology is given to people without social precedence or knowledge of how the technology even works. Anyway, explain this pathology to me further.
All right, here it is. Humans are animals. We are a small group animal. We develop rights and obligations within these small groups. At the political level, it is in these small groups behind closed doors in smoke-filled rooms that decisions are made. These decisions, first and foremost, have to fit the needs of the respective members, in part or in whole. We elect these people, but they get into the small groups and develop obligations. It's called pay for play. You do something for me, I do something for you. And because there is a lot at stake here, these members protect each other's asses. And for those who don't want to play, they throw them under the bus. They don't get reelected. So it's not that we purposely desire to elect liars and cheaters and thugs and perverts. This is how they are sold to us through this pay-for-play business. If I had any say in this, and I do not, although I should, no senator or representative would be allowed to serve for longer than 4 years, never to be able to run again.
Okay, John. Thank you for clearing that up. I was really getting worried as to the sanity of your people. As the great Nundor once said, I don't have trouble with ignorance, for people can learn. I have trouble with stupidity, for I guess that is forever. But I need to know, if I am to understand human behavior, what does it mean to be a small group animal?
Before I get to that, who is Nundor?
Nundor, yes, Nundor. Nundor was said to have been born in a stable. Oh, what am I talking about? Nundor was born from a solar wind and was said to inhabit the planet Sindar in the seventh region in a galaxy called Ruatinium, which means spiral galaxy. In one of the outlying arms, circling a star, is a planet, much the same as yours, John. The species to which Nundor belongs long ago learned to project their thoughts and thought images out into the universe. Everyone has encountered them. These are some of the most benign entities in the universe. You would encounter their thought images in the form of energy balls or balls of light in a size convenient to your sensing equipment. Anyway, Nundor was, or perhaps still is, a great sage who offered what you would call one-liners that encapsulated great truths. My favorite, which is a bit silly but holds a great deal of meaning, is he who has a black hole as a pet will surely get bitten. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, so what is a small group animal?
All right, it means that humans function best in groups of from 7 to around 25 individuals, although we can function in groups of 100, 150, sometimes thousands for short periods of time for ritual reasons and so on. This is how we live for at least 1.5 million years. In large businesses, we find individuals grouped in small units designed to cooperate for one reason or another, usually profit or money making, but also for social interaction, to find mates, but also to be productive. Humans have to do things. Humans are not designed physically nor mentally to sit around and do nothing. In a free market economy, these small units compete to see who can be the best, who can produce the best mousetrap or a rocket to go to the moon. Being the best, having a say in the rules that govern our lives, this is all part of our small group nature. Competition is condemned by the liberals. There are very few people I know who feel good about sitting around day after day doing nothing. These people don't jump for joy. On the other side, there are very few people whom I've met who really like being told what to do by others. We do it for various reasons, but that does not mean that we like it. Our small group nature, our spirit, our initiative to do something, invent, be the best, just so happens to fit nicely into a free market economy where anyone can succeed at whatever he or she wants. Want more cheap energy? Turn the problem over to the free market. To do otherwise, as is the strategy of the Obama administration, only lengthens our dependency on oil. Free market economy promotes initiative, not dependence. We're not like ants in an anthill programmed to take care of the queen. We cling to life like all animals. We will fight to stay alive. We engage sex and eat in order to maintain life, to propagate life. And we, each and every one, want to feel important in the group. We want to have a say in all the decisions that affect our lives. Any government that neglects our animal nature and does not promote individual initiative, for example, in a free enterprise system, will fail in this day and age. Any government that does not promote free expression of the individual, but instead suppresses the individual's rights to express an opinion, will eventually fracture and splinter in this day and age. We can see some real problems with this with our current president and his dirty dozen who, by controlling the media, censorship as is done in communist Korea, China, and Russia, and fascist Middle East countries, can avoid having to deal with opinions of others.
Okay, I'm beginning to see what you mean, but you have to excuse my lack of understanding about lying and distorting or controlling information by those in power. If you are not at a level of consciousness where you can separate fact from opinion, if you cannot really see the problems that face your planet, then how can you expect to solve them? That's just my opinion, John. I don't mean to insult you, but you folks really aren't that bright. There are a few of you that show promise, John, and I'm sorry to say you personally aren't one of them. But there are a few. But it will be many generations before you develop the type of consciousness that filters the noise, the nonsense.
You seem to take some joy in insulting us humans.
Yes, And I'm only telling you the truth, John. Comparatively speaking, you were first making flint knives when we were sending probes to the furthest edges of the known universe. Anyway, there is another word I'm having trouble with, and that is Republican.
Okay, does the word confused come to mind? But before I get to this, let me mention two other words that are important here, and that is conservative and independent. Conservatives want to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights. They desire to maintain the freedom of the individual and freedom from government oppression. Tea Party members are an example of conservatives, not necessarily Republicans. Independents, well, these people see a need perhaps for social change, but that change has to be reasonable, responsible, and by all means legal. This is an ideal definition. For Republicans, well, actually, there's another way of looking at this. I'll try and keep this brief. The words we use are symbols, and they represent people, places, things, past, present, future, and so on. And the meanings and the spellings and pronunciations of these words change through time. The meaning of a word can be altered to fit the occasion, or new words can be invented or inserted into paragraphs or whatever. Thus, the word liberal, what it used to mean and what people think it means, are entirely different things. Here is another example. Most bread is made from wheat flour. When the wheat is processed, there are around 27 nutrients removed from the flour, fiber, the vitamins, and so on, and then 5 items are put back in: niacin, riboflavin, thymine, reduced iron, and folic acid. Then they call it enriched wheat. This is a misrepresentation. Most people think they're getting something good, but they're being misled by our government. Most recently, NBC News, while editing the Zimmerman tape for broadcast, edited out a question from the dispatcher, which has led to cries of racism and a great deal of social unrest and people offering bounties on others. Again, what most people think a liberal stands for is a misrepresentation. In theory, I'm talking theory, not necessarily absolute reality, Republican representatives and senators are there when you need them, as the government should be, like when people are coming over your borders and killing your family and friends, or poisoning our kids with cocaine and speed, or when a tornado devastates a town, or when floods destroy crops. The Democrats, on the other side, are in your face. They come to you and tell you what you need. Thou shalt buy a Volt. Thou shalt buy health insurance. Thou shalt not eat pizza. Thou shalt be triaged if you're over 70. Thou shalt get an abortion. Thou shalt pay taxes. Thou shalt get a computer chip implant, and so on and so forth. Democrats have easy access to the mass media, controlled by people who know not what they do. But unlike our mythic hero Jesus, I don't forgive them. They believe they know what is best for people, like parents and popes. They think they are the ones that know what is best for everyone. They're the most vocal, too. They're always looking for votes and eager to bribe you with some new entitlement. If it wasn't for Fox News, you'd rarely ever see a Republican on the news, unless, of course, he emails some young page and tells him he has a nice ass. These days, the Black Panthers have more direct access to the news media than does a Republican senator. Again, Republican politicians in general do not desire to force government on people. It's not part of the philosophy of the founders of the country, so they are simply less visible. People like Nancy Pelosi see the Republic and free market economy as outmoded. She belittles the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, calling them fetishes, essentially superstition. Pelosi looks around the world and sees all the socialist countries going downhill, going bankrupt because of health care and other entitlements, and things should go in the same direction here, just to be fair.
Okay, but what does the term Republican really mean?
Okay, this country was founded on the idea of a republic, that is, a group of independent states who cooperate with one another economically and so on. The government's job was to make sure that people played fair and protected against foreign interference, and so on and so forth. Problems are always local, so problem solving should be at the local level, which is reasonable and logical, and it works. All states and the townships and cities within have their own special needs, and problems are best dealt with at the local level. Yes, the government, as is reasonable and logical, should have advisors and scientists to make suggestions and so on. But for the most part, the government should stay out of the state's business, just as the state should stay out of the individual's right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It all comes down to the rights of the individual, which liberals think is evil and bad. Why is this? Because you, the public, are dumb and stupid. You don't know what is good for you, and you make bad decisions for yourself. If they didn't think this way, why do they agree to the state taking over your life? There's an incongruency here reflecting a factor in the social pathology I talked about last time. You cannot be both free and state-controlled at the same time. Many Republicans have lost their way. Those who have stayed on track are usually highly criticized, like the Tea Party, usually by Democrats through the state-owned media. The liberal press refers to the Tea Party members as teabaggers, a homosexual reference. The liberals can get into name-calling like this, insulting, defaming character, and they get a pass. Conservatives do it, and they get slammed, as happened recently. You can see clearly how the liberal press, through irresponsible journalism, creates confusion and social dissension, as in the Zimmerman tape aired on NBC, and thus various degrees of social pathology that emanated from that. I most certainly believe and promote free speech, but not irresponsible journalism.
Why is that, John? Why is a republic as a way of organizing society considered a bad thing to the Democrats, the liberals?
Well, that's easy, OO. It limits their control of people, power. It limits their ability to tell people what to do, and it limits their control of money. The key features for your average liberal is to limit the power of the individual and grow government. This is socialism. This is communism.
Hmm. Okay, but we will have to resume this another time. We have a small obstacle to get around, and I need to take charge of this.